I had key professors that they were engineers. They were out there in the field. They were building things. They were putting it together. And they will tell you, hey, this is what the book says, but jump in the truck. Let's go. Hello, and welcome to this month's episode of Engineering Greatness, an original podcast series produced by the American Concrete Institute. I'm Andres Matos, professional engineer and project manager at Millennia Professional Services in Downers Grove, Illinois. And with me today is Josh.
Hello, Andres. How are you?
I'm alive. I'm alive and having fun doing concrete things, and it's great to be here. So welcome everyone to the podcast. Today is a little bit of an odd one for those of you who listen to us consistently, which we appreciate. Today we're talking geotech. Josh and myself, we're both started our careers playing in the dirt, being geotechnical engineers. So today is a little bit of an odd one, and I think it's going to be a fun one. And it's really important because it gave us all a different perspective of how concrete and geotech kind of run together. So, Josh, let's start with you. How was your background? Where you went to school? How you got into the geotech and the concrete? How was that transition?
Sure. It's come a long way and kind of a unique path to end up as I'm the director of sustainable infrastructure for the Portland Cement Association. So that is the organization that represents the majority of cement manufacturing in the U.S. And that doesn't sound like geotech, but it is. And originally, I went to school at Norwich University and got my bachelor's degree in civil engineering. I also got a minor in math, but no one ever cares about that. I liked it, but anyway. So I started as a geotech engineer right out of college for a small engineering firm, or a geotech firm in Vermont. And I worked there for over 7 years, working specifically on geotech projects, a lot of work on the back of drill rigs, a lot of design work for foundations. And I kind of emerged, a, a specialty emerged as something that I really enjoy is working with dams, a lot of dam engineering and dam safety. So that was something that kind of fell into my wheelhouse towards the end of my first job, where I was kind of the guy managing the dam projects for them. So I wanted more, and I ended up leaving that firm to go work for a multidisciplinary firm that supported the hydropower industry. So they were looking to bring geotech in-house. So I was their geotech engineer for that purpose. And from there, decided to move with my now wife outside of New England. So we moved to North Carolina and took a job managing a small geotech and construction materials testing laboratory in coastal Carolina. So living at the beach was pretty cool. And the geotech conditions there were a bit more boring than in New England. Vermont was kind of
Boring.
where
I know what you did there. We're talking about borings. Yeah, go on.
even though they do mostly CPT there. But anyway,
Yeah.
so then I got a message on LinkedIn actually from what I thought was spam, and I thought it was a joke. It was something about a marketing and a geotech markets, and so I didn't read it, and then I let it pass for 2 weeks and like opened it at least, and it was a marketing position. Like, this is nothing for me. Didn't read it again, and then picked it up one more time and read it, and it kind of read like my resume with geotech background, construction materials testing, and it was the position at the Portland Cement Association that I got hired for. And ever since 2019, I've been there since. So basically, that geotech background was brought in the sense that I was their technical person for the geotechnical and water resources market. So the work that I had done with dams, the work I had done for about 12 years in geotech, all really supported that technical expertise role that the cement industry was trying to bring on. So that's kind of, in a nutshell, my path to get to where I am today. How about yourself?
Well, mine is, well, first of all, we have a very, very different definition of what a beach is. Mine are usually in the 80-degree range. Yours seems to be in the 40-degree range in the East Coast. So I'm originally from Puerto Rico. I went to the University of Puerto Rico in the Mayagüez campus. I got my civil engineering degree from there. And then I moved to Chicago. I had no idea how cold it was when I moved here, but here we are. And then I started working for a construction inspection, material testing, and geotech firm. My background being concrete. I even went to Oregon State for a research internship on concrete, which was amazing. Great place. Um, but then I take this job as mostly geotech with a little bit of concrete. And I started learning my way through the rigs and kind of sampling and doing those kind of things. I always wanted to go back to school. In the meantime, there is a very famous test around here in Chicago, which is the pressure meter test. Pressure meter test, it's kind of complicated. It's kind of weird. Not many people can do it. And for some reason, I picked it up rather quickly. Yes, I broke it in pieces a couple times, but I picked it up and I became the PMT operator for the office, and I stayed with them for about 5 years. It was fantastic, great mentorship, an awesome time. Then I went back to school. I got my master's from UIC in geotechnical engineering. So I fell in love with the dirt and the soils and playing in it. It's like a toddler with a salary, you play with dirt and break things. And and then now I got my PE after that. I did the PE and the master at the same time. It was quite an experience, let's put it that way. And then I went to a design firm where I wanted to try design, and I felt the need to be in the field again and kind of have the fun with the contractors and the excavating equipment and kind of helping the contractor go right in the right direction and make sure the project goes well. So I went back into testing, and that's how I arrived here to Millennia to be the technical director for the lab, which for everybody listening, if you hear a loud explosion, it might be a cylinder. Hopefully not. We try to coordinate things appropriately, but it happens. So I do the construction inspection, the material testing, and I still handle some geotech from the project management standpoint, where we schedule the drill rigs, we kind of write the structural geotechnical report for the local DOT and do slope analysis and all that kind of thing, which are fun. But in some cases can be stressful because you have too many to, and you probably went into the same issue where you have all the reports are due at the same day, and it feels like finals week. But yeah, it is a matter of preparing yourself and coordinating yourself and talking to your other people. The plan still to go back to school and do the PhD at some point. The goal is to be a professor one day, but I told everyone I'm gonna be a very different professor. That's the book might not be option number one. We're gonna go drilling. So the classroom might be outside. So that's my background. I enjoy the combination, and that is something that other disciplines don't necessarily have right off the bat. I think that's where geotech shines, where when you go into geotech, you're not just a geotech. You usually have some kind of material testing or some kind of design, or there's always something else. And I think that's the part that I really enjoy, because you get those additional things that keep you on your toes. Like some days I'm writing a geotech report, one of my inspector calls me about some welding, and I'm like, welding, a full penetration weld, cool. I was looking at silty clay. So it is very interesting. It keeps me in my toes. I move around a lot. And for those of you who have seen me at the competitions and other things, I have too much energy sometimes and I like to move around. So I think the position is perfect for the kind of person I have become with years, and the things I like to do. Um, so yeah, it's been quite an experience. Now, in your case, just did you ever expected, like going to school doing geotech, did you ever expected ending up in concrete?
No, absolutely not. I didn't even know really what the Portland Cement Association was for the beginning first decade of my career, as I was all in on dirt. I was a geotech first, and there wasn't really a CMT component of the firms that I worked for, so I wasn't really exposed as much to the concrete aspect of it until I moved to North Carolina, and a CMT laboratory was under my purview. and that's where I learned a lot about the PCA and the ACI and what ACI has to offer to the industry. And then even after I joined PCA and started to experience ACI, my first convention was during COVID. So I think it was one of the virtual conventions. So I experienced ACI initially, and then it was totally different once it was in person. But that geotech aspect of like the niche of ACI that has geotechs in it and in the different aspects where cement and concrete overlaps with geotech, I didn't really experience that until later on, and now I'm kind of all in with like Committee 230 on soil cement. Roller compacted concrete is one of my areas of expertise, and there's the RCC pavements committee that I had ACI. RCC for dam construction falls under 207 mass concrete, so that we're updating the report on RCC for mass concrete currently. So that's a big thing that I'm working on now. So now I'm totally in, and it's neat that I it's like our paths were kind of similar. It's like geotech first, that's where it started, and then there was this parallel CMT kind of aspect of it that steered towards ACI. And it sounds like you didn't start right out with ACI when you started your career either. Is that true?
Well, it's very interesting because my career, I always wanted to be a concrete person. And
Really?
I took a job in geotech with not being a geotech. My background is concrete as a material, mostly because when I took structural analysis one, I figured, oops, this is not for me. I mean, I tried to find those zero force members, and I'm like, I don't know where a zero force member is. I don't understand this. I need to run out of this. And I had a great professor that he's like, give it a shot. I'm like, I'm not giving a shot to anything. This is not for me. And thankfully I passed. But then he showed me the light, and I went into materials. I took a job in geotech, which forced me into learning geotech. Um, but in my case, I started with ACI when I was a student because I competed in the student competitions for pervious concrete, the bowling ball, and then I became student chapter president for another year, and then I transitioned into the what is today the Student Leadership Council, which is it's 805 as a chair, then 806, which is young professionals as a chair, and other things that I keep doing. So I always been more involved on the concrete side than the geotech. The geotech became the job. The concrete became the passion, and it's been a very interesting roller coaster every single time. Um, but I like it. I enjoy it. It seems like when you were in school, did you ever try any of the ACI competitions or anything like that, or a concrete canoe or anything like that?
We had an ASCE student chapter, but the only thing they did was steel bridge. Concrete canoe wasn't something that was done in Norwich, and I'm actually on the ASCE C4 committee now for concrete canoe, and it's kind of remains a trend that the Northeast schools don't really they're underrepresented in those competitions. So hopefully that's my role there. I
Yeah, it
can
is.
try to influence that.
And it is very heavy on the south because Puerto Rico belongs to the southern part, and there is I'm not gonna get into that because some of our listeners might start throwing cylinders at me. I know they're lightweight, but they still hurt. Puerto Rico usually competes with UF on the concrete canoe and the steel bridge. I was in the concrete canoe for a little bit when I was younger. And then I transitioned into ACI for purviews and the bowling ball, and I enjoyed it a lot. It is a shorter competition because you only have 6 months. You have or less, and it's a go go go. And after that, I like it so much, and I started looking for options. On okay, I had a great experience out of the competitions. I learned a lot about purviews and other types of concrete. It basically saved my career because I always, since I was little, I wanted to be either an architect or a structural engineer because I wanted to do bridges. So when I applied to college, I said, well, the universe will decide. I'm going to apply to both. The first letter that I get back, that's where we're going. That's what I did. So I went into engineering. And when I figured that structural was not my thing by any means, I was like, what else is it? What I'm gonna do now? It was one of those role division kind of thing where you say, okay, what now? And that's where materials came in, and I enjoy it. So I joined different committees at ACI and find a way to maintain that experience for other students and find a way that if I got so much out of this to make sure that the younger people coming behind, they also gain from it. And joining committees, as you very well know, it is an experience. The technicals versus the non-technicals and that kind of thing, but it is very, very rewarding. So now that we have talked about a little bit about when we were young, which was not that long ago. I want to make that a point. It was not that long ago. What projects or what things are you working right now on that excite you? What are you doing in your typical day that you say when you woke up on a Monday morning at 3:30 a.m., you're excited about doing that?
Well, the cement industry is kind of going through a transformation right now towards a more sustainable future. So the PCA that I work for, representing the cement industry, has the roadmap to carbon neutrality, and the whole idea is to achieve carbon neutrality across the entire value chain, from the cement manufacturing process all the way through construction and carbon uptake at the end, by 2050. So everything that I do in my role as the director of sustainable infrastructure, I'm kind of a technical person for the industry. I'm basically free technical advice for our consultants, for our owners, engineers,
Do you
related
get
to
all the phone calls about the Type 1L?
that. Many of them, yes, yep. So that's a huge part of my role now, is trying to help all the different practitioners incorporate these new blended cements that are coming out that have the benefits of using SCMs incorporated in with the actual Portland cement clinker, but they don't act exactly the same as the cements of the last 20, 30 years. So there's certain best practices that many of them have been the same best practices all along that still apply to blended cements, but there's I do a lot of writing, a lot of presenting at technical conferences, just to try to spread the word and that reassurance and that message that best practices that have always applied, still apply. And that's where, the ACI's work on the committees is also really important, because that's where many of these best practices are documented and accessible by practitioners through the guides and the codes and resources like that. So some of the most rewarding stuff that I get to do is getting up on stage in front of 100, 200, 300 people and talking about the stuff that I'm thinking about and working on every day, and try to help move the industry in the direction to more sustainable practices. And
And I think, and I think that's you hit a very important point there. And it's as engineers, we're always teach or guided towards, hey, crank the number. And sometimes in our formation as professionals, the universities and institutions forget that at some point we need to present that work outside. And those soft skills sometimes are ignored because I'm an engineer. I just need to get the right answer and put a red circle around it. And I think that's it seems like that is a very heavy part on your day to day where you need to communicate, where so-called soft skills are equally relevant as the technical competency. And I think that for a young professional, that should be a goal. It's not only getting certified or getting a master's, PhD, or whatever. It is also developing the ability to speak in public, to write a report that everyone can read. Because I'm sure I can write a report, but the regular people can read it without an engineering background. And I think that's very important to mention. And same with me, when I go to the competitions, I talk to all the students. I have a lot of fun. I usually give them a hard time, but it's not on purpose. quote unquote. But it is a great time, and it having those soft skills develop, I think, has been one of the most rewarding things I got out of ACI, and it's the ability to explore that, the ability to do that, and it seems like you use it every day for your job.
Absolutely. And it's kind of a point of pride to be able to communicate very complex technical things in a very understandable, digestible way for audiences beyond the engineers that, work in that every day. It's a challenge and it's fun. And it sounds like I mean, you have that too. And it sounds like you really enjoy the young member engagement and giving back to the organization that kind of gave you the opportunity to stick with concrete and find a new path to stay into it. So
Yeah.
is that kind of leading your in the future wanting to become a professor and kind of even go even deeper with that, giving back and educating the next round of engineers that are going to do this?
Yeah, it's part of it is a two-part kind of goal. I want to teach because I had during my growing as a person and as a professional when I was in college, I had really, really, really good professors, thankfully, and I'm very grateful for all of them. But some of them were really good at reading the book, and they will translate and give you that information as a information. But I had key professors that they were engineers. They were out there in the field. They were building things. They were putting it together. And they will tell you, hey, this is what the book says, but jump in the truck. Let's go. I had a professor, he moved to Texas. Great professor. He's a structural, but he even opened courses for four people, and he teach it just for the four of us on NDT, on bridge inspection. For the bridge inspection course, he had a pickup truck, which I love. One time he's like, you know what? I've been telling you about this bridge for too long. Let's go. So the four of us jumped in the truck with him, and we went under a bridge, middle of nowhere on a hill, to do the bridge inspection. And we had to come up with a report. He is one of the FHWA inspectors, and those experiences are the ones that told me, yes, this is what you want to do, and those are the experiences I want to give to the next generation. It's not only knowing the material, because knowing science, you're a scientist. Applying it, then you become an engineer, and that's where I want to go, where the experience is there and they can see it being built. So that I enjoy that. I enjoy talking to people, and being able to do that, and not, because everybody can talk about whatever famous people gossip there is, but being able to transform people in the sense of giving them knowledge, to me sounds like fun. And sometimes you get people that ask you questions and you're like, where is this coming from? It's like, how you know that? And that helps me come back in the office, sit down and find an answer. And that's where the fun is. I truly enjoy it. It's there are days that I don't want anybody to ask me questions, but there are days that I want to answer all the questions. And I think finding that balance is very, very important. Um, Talking about balance, and that is something that sometimes get misplaced in our careers when we do so many things, because I'm sure that beyond ACI, you're involved in ASCE, as you mentioned, you're probably involved in ASTM and 300 other things. How you, in your career, how have you handled that work-life balance? I know this was one of the what I wish I knew sessions a couple of years back, but it is always a topic of discussion. How you handle that work-life balance?
It was a challenge, especially since I started with PCA and then we had the pandemic, and then I had my two kids over the last 4 years. So I have a 2 year old and a 4 year old. So I think I went through a midlife crisis because I did not know what that balance should look like, and it was the importance is prioritizing everything, like including your personal well being, your self care, your family, like it's easy to I used to be a slave to the list. Like I had a list of things that I had to get done for all the organizations and work and everything. And I would cross things off and then just add something else in there, and it was constant. And it's important to prioritize yourself, your what personal well being, um, and also your family and spending time with them. And I think the other component of it is enjoying all of it, like enjoying everything that you do. Like even if it's something that is not exactly what you want to be doing, some task or certain um, basically a task that you don't really want to do, like find the good in it. Like there's a reason to do it. There's got to be some, silver lining. Like just having a positive attitude and a positive approach and being flexible makes it a lot easier. I mean, in my role now, there's been a lot of changes over the tenure that I've had with PCA, but being flexible and taking on new challenges, and seeing them as challenges to be overcome and figured out, and come out with a positive outcome is kind of something that makes it very enjoyable and rewarding. So I think that would be my best stab at how to live life.
I would agree. I would agree. I was a slave. I don't have a wife or kids, so it's just me. Which it's good and bad because the reality is that I don't have to take the kids to volleyball or anything. So there is nothing that I can say, hey, I need to stop working and go and do that. Which can create problems. The older I get, the more I realize that I should take time for me too and do things I like and I love and I enjoy. Um, and I've been a slave of the list. I've been a slave of the new list that you put in your phone and it tells you, hey, buddy, you forgot about this, which I don't like because I feel even worse every time. Like, oh, that's what I forgot. Great. But I think it's important to at some point be like, okay, I have accomplished XYZ. It's time for a coffee. It's time to call this person. It's time to text this friend and maintain those relations and talk to your coworkers, bother them a little bit, and say, hey, how was your weekend? I think that's important and that give you a better sense of humanity in general. And again, I like talking to people. Sometimes I call clients just to see how they're doing because I like them. Some of them I don't call them, but it's a matter of engaging in those personal relationships. And to me, it was really hard at first keeping a balance because I was new to the city. I didn't know anyone, so it was just work, eat, sleep, repeat, and that was a problem. So my midlife crisis, I went ahead and bought a sports car because why not? She's bright red. It's easy to find for the state troopers. That I should rethink the color at some point. But yeah, I love my car and I try to take it out from time to time and have fun and do other things. So what other activities you do? Let's say not concrete related, because I'm the kind of person that I mix concrete in my garage and start making flowers for women in ACI and then I paint them. So no concrete related. What other things you do?
My family likes to do a lot of things outdoors, so hiking. I'm an avid skier. I moved back from North Carolina to New England to New Hampshire to for the skiing and the snowmobiling and that sort of thing. It's kind of a rare thing to actually go and invite that back in. But you did the same thing, going from Puerto Rico to Chicago and sticking around.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I don't know how to ski. Never tried it and never snowboarded either. I did when sledding, I think it is, where you
mhm.
jump on the thing and you slide down the hill. It was fun. We did it at the Calumet Park. It was kind of cool, but I never been on a snowmobile or any snow related things. I still it was been snowing these last couple of days here, and I still and this might sound funny for many people. Um, I just stand in my window and watch it fall. Like to me, it still seems so foreign that the snow is falling. And I just stand in the window and I can be there for half an hour looking at it falling. And it is very, to me, it's weird, but I'm getting used to it little by little.
Sure. So when you're not making concrete flowers for women, what do you do for fun?
So when I'm not making concrete in my garage and I'm not taking my car apart, um, I like the outdoors. I really like hiking. I spent many years in the Boy Scouts. I'm an Eagle Scout myself, so yeah, I spent days in camping and doing that kind of stuff. I don't do camping out here. Kind of cold. Um, and being from Puerto Rico, that cold weather camping class, we kind of skip it because there is no need. But yeah, I love the outdoors. I do a lot of hiking when I can. And then I still have a javelin. So some people think I'm not good at sports, and they are correct. Um, but yeah, I used to throw the javelin when I was younger, and I got it. It's here. And sometimes there's a football field near my house, and I wait for the kids to leave, obviously, and because that could be a problem. And then I just throw my javelin and have some fun, and I'm trying to find newer hobbies. That has been my task. So I'm trying to learn piano now. Um, Needless to say, it's been complicated. My piano teacher, she's young too, and she's like, "Are you really paying attention?" And she treats me like an adult. So it is a very interesting conversation. But yeah, I'm trying to look for hobbies. I'm in my phase of getting out of that cycle of being a slave at work because of my own fault, and looking into doing things for myself. And I think growing in that area, it's been important, and it's probably a struggle for many young professionals. And I think taking the time to explore things that you might like is worth it. It's definitely convenient, and it helps you decompress. So yeah, I think we're getting close to our 30-minute podcast, and I know most of the people are gonna listen to this when on their way to work or jogging, which is great. Do sports. I don't do them, but you people go and do it. So any final thoughts, Josh, that you want to share with all our ACI friends and concrete gurus out there?
I think you hit the nail on the head as far as like from a personal perspective, exploring new things that are exciting and potentially rewarding for you in your personal life is really important for maintaining that work-life balance. And then doing that professionally is also very important. So expanding horizons. So like starting out in geotech and then ending up working in concrete, like specialty cement and concrete applications. That was something that I never expected, ending up in RCC and soil cement. And ACI is one of the best places to explore those types of new things in related to the cement and concrete world. And that's been it's a great advice and a great way to go about it from both a personal and professional perspective.
Yeah, and I agree 100%. I mean, ACI has been key for my career. Even from the geotech standpoint, I actually went to Mexico last year, which I love. I went to Guadalajara, and my presentation there was the geotechnical aspects of concrete construction, and it's that integration between the concrete, the geotech, and being able to explore other areas. I think that's very important. And if you're a young professional, you're listening to this podcast, don't get frustrated because you don't understand what you're doing or you're not necessarily comfortable. There's a lot of things you can do with concrete knowledge, and if you like concrete, ACI is the place to be. Been around ACI one way or another for 10 years now, and it's always been a rewarding experience. So ACI has been key for my career. That's where I got my first job at an actual convention. That's where I got my research internship and an actual convention. That was my interview place. So yeah, I would encourage everyone to stay involved, seek other professionals, seek mentors, and join ACI and take advantage of the friendship and the concrete friends we can make at ACI.
Thanks for that great advice, Andres. And thanks to everyone for listening to this month's episode of Engineering Greatness. Join us each month as ACI brings together pairs of young professionals in the concrete industry to engage in intimate conversations about their life and work. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast on Apple, Spotify, Google, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. And for more information on the American Concrete Institute, visit us online at concrete.org. We'll see you next time.